Welcome back to our kitchen with Tracy and Tim. And I'm so glad you stopped by today because I have a surprise for you. It's cold outside and I need something that's warm to warm my inside. So I'm going to be making lettuce soup. I bet you've never heard of this before, right? Well, come along and I'm going to show you how. I first learned about lettuce soup from a friend that I used to work with years ago, and she would make lettuce soup and bring it into us because we used to have these luncheons where we could do like potluck and bring different things in, and that was a lot of fun. That's part of office though. I'll tell you, anybody out there who has worked in office knows it is all about the food. So today I thought, it's cold, let's do something that's different, and I thought about Betty. And so that's how I decided to do the lettuce. Now what we're going to need with this is a leek, and we're going to need some stock, I buy in bulk. I go to BJ's. So I'm going to be using some chicken stock. You can use beef stock, you can use a vegetable stock if you want. Then we're going to need some garlic, and that's part of the nice thing about growing your own produce. Usually you have enough that goes from one year to the next. As long as you've been gardening for a little bit of time, you have an idea of how much you need. Just like this, I actually grew this lettuce as well. I want to do a little bit of prep work because that is one of the best tips I can give anybody with cooking. Instead of trying to do each thing as you go along, get all the ingredients ready and then you can put your time and effort and make something quality without jeopardizing the timeline for getting things done. So we're going to start with the leek. The first thing I'm going to do is cut the end off. And cut most of the dark green off. We'll set this aside. And we're going to peel this one outer layer. And this is what we're going to be using. Now leeks can be pretty dirty. They actually can have sand within the layers as well. So what we need to do is make sure, cut this in half, and we're going to put this down into some water and rinse this really well before we actually even start slicing it up. I can feel the grittiness of the sand on this just by doing this. Now we're going to get these cut up into like half moons. We're going to do it fairly thin because we want them to cook up evenly and cook up pretty quickly. Now that we have them all cut up, we're going to do a second rinsing, just to make sure that we have nice and clean leeks for this soup. Now while we're letting those soak, we need to get our garlic cleaned up. I've already took all the paper off. That's the outside coating from the garlic. And I'm going to go ahead and use, I think, one big one. If you had smaller ones, use two smaller ones. But for me, the amount I'm making, I think one will be good. You want to cut the ends off and clean up any paper that's on the outside. So you have a nice, clean, fresh garlic. We have our garlic all nice and cleaned off. Both ends are cut off. Now I'm going to cut this in half. And I want to cut this and the last thing we need to get ready ahead of time is our potatoes. I like to use these little red potatoes. They're nice and tender skins, and they just work out so well. This is a small bag. Let me see how much is in here. This is 24 ounces. So let's see how much I'm going to use. I'm guessing probably half of this, because the way we're going to cut it is right into half. And this is the size that we're looking for. And then just pop it right into the water so it stays nice and fresh until we're ready for it. Now let's get started on making this soup. The first thing we're going to do is get this on, I would say on medium. And this burner is actually a wider burner, so it burns much warmer than the other ones. This is a 5-quart. We're going to add in our olive oil. I would say probably a couple tablespoons. You don't really have to measure. Then we're going to add in our garlic. A dollop of butter. And we're going to saute that garlic. We're going to let that go for just a few minutes. That smells so good. Then we're going to add in our leeks. Now what we want to do is make sure that we're wilting down our leeks, and once we do that, we'll be ready for the next step. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit now. And just keep stirring. We're going to cover it for just a few minutes and let that cook. Those look good. They're wilted pretty nicely. Now we're going to add in our potatoes, and you want to make sure those potatoes are all evenly cut. Try not to have big ones and small ones. We're going to add a little bit of salt. Sprinkle it on your potatoes. I want to move that around first, evenly spread out that salt. Now we got that nice and mixed. I want to add in our stock. I'm going to use, let's start with 1 box, and we'll see how much this gives us. All right, that was a 32 ounce, and that actually looks pretty good. I think though, I'm going to go ahead because we need to get this boiling. I'm going to add another maybe half box. So any evaporation, we still have a nice broth left. Let's turn up that temperature because we need to heat that up. Let's go ahead and cover it again. Now that we're waiting for that to warm up, let's cut some of the lettuce. Now because I'm using nice, tender, fresh greens, I'm not going to put it in as early as if you use the outside leaves of the bigger greens. You're going to want to put that lettuce in right when you did the potatoes and the stock, and then go ahead and bring that up to a boil, and then you're going to cook this. Once it comes to boil like it is now, then if you have the lettuce in there, you're going to turn it down just a little bit and be a rolling boil and go for maybe 30 to 45 minutes. But because I'm doing it with these tender greens, I don't need to cook these as long. So I'm going to let the potatoes cook a little bit, and then I'm going to add the lettuce in after probably about 10 minutes, and then I'll add the lettuce and we'll finish cooking it at that point. All right, it has been probably about 10 minutes or so, and the potatoes are partially cooked. Now I'm going to add in the lettuce. You can already see how that broth is got a richness to it with the potatoes being in there and all the flavoring. And then we're also going to add in a couple bay leaves to this. And that's going to add a depth of flavor as well. Let's stir it up. And then I'm going to put the lid back on. It's cooking up nice. It hasn't been 20 minutes yet. I want to go ahead and add more broth into mine. It's thickening up quite a bit because of the potatoes. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the other half of the box. So that means that we had 2 boxes of chicken stock that we used, and each one was 32 ounces. We'll have to heat that up and get that into an easy boil. All right, let's check this and make sure that the potatoes are all done. I am going to give them just a few more minutes and set it for 5 more minutes. All right, now the soup is all done. We're going to finish it up, and I'll show you how to do that. Now that we have it all set, we're going to top it off with some bread, some sourdough, and some Bontel cheese. We're going to put this into a hot oven. I have it at 450 degrees, and we're going to let that cheese melt on top of that bread and get all gooey. Doesn't that look yummy? All right, this is really hot because it just came out of the oven. So that cheese on top of that bread is really good. And the broth is very rich, very rich. It thickened up because of the potato. And the leeks are actually very mild. I like this a lot. It has a good combination of flavors. All right, now let's see what Tim thinks about it.
Welcome to the test kitchen.
For Tim, this is a test kitchen, so we'll see what he has to say about it. And I have not edited this, so.
Chicken noodle, yeah. Let's find out. Not too bad. The broth is really good. Potatoes are tender and creamy. Bread and the cheese, yeah, that really goes well. But I'm just not used to lettuce being in a soup. I'm sorry. I'm used to lettuce being in a bowl with some dressing and onion. But overall, it's not too bad.
It just takes time for you to get used to the textures.
I'm sorry, I'm a meat and potatoes guy.
But overall, telling everybody what you really think as far as even somebody who...
Not too bad. That isn't too bad. Especially with the bread and the cheese on top. That adds to it. That gives it a nice texture. It adds to it.
Well, that was being honest. I actually really love it, but I'm used to it because I've had this lettuce soup. Like I said, I used to have it when I worked at the office with Betty, and she would make it. So those of you who think this is kind of weird, just give it a shot. You might like it. And I think if Tim has it a few different times, I think he's going to go over the top and enjoy it too. So take care, and we're going to see you on the next video. Make sure to comment below.
Bye.